Hello. Welcome to the Unchill Podcast. I have a very special guest with me today. Gio, introduce yourself.
I'm Giovanny Ramirez, career coach and financial professional, and I'm here to just help people inspire and get them to the next career move. I love helping entry-level and mid-level professionals get to their first 100K, 200K, so life becomes more possible when you got more money in your pocket.
Wow, that's true. So I really wanted Gio to be one of my first guests for the Unchill Podcast because he's the one who introduced me to personal development. I was not into this type of stuff before, right after I quit my job. I was very much in a very bad headspace, and he met me and was like, you have to go to this event. And I went and fell in love. So I probably wouldn't be having a podcast if it wasn't for him, which is such a beautiful story. It's magical what he does. And today we're going to learn more about him, which is absolutely amazing because I've learned so much about him over the 2 years I've known him. And I knew I would have to do this for you guys too.
Oh, thank you. So sweet.
We're going to learn all the tips for career coaching, getting a job. I know the market is pretty rough right now. And I think people are really struggling. So we're going to help you guys out. What got you into career coaching?
Yeah, that's a good question. And then I just want to give you like props. Here's your first, not first, but maybe like first kind of official episode, right? We've worked really hard to get the studio up. There's still some things to do here, but I'm very excited to be one of your first few guests on your podcast. I'm chilled. I'm unchilling right now.
Yeah, we worked really hard to get this backdrop ready. We're in the studio, right? Took a long time to set this whole thing up.
Took a while, yeah.
Took a long time.
A lot of work.
We've been putting in effort because this is very important to us. So that's why we made it the way it is. So we want to learn all about you. So how did you get involved in career coaching? What is your story?
Yeah.
Why do you love it so much?
Yeah, so career coaching was something that just came actually very natural to me. Kind of funny, with ex-girlfriends, I used to give them like good career advice or help them write their resumes. And then they would go off and get like really good jobs. Wow. And then they would ask me for advice on interviewing. And also then they started telling my friends. My friends started asking me to do their resumes. And I didn't know I had this talent. I kind of took it for granted. When I graduated college, I went to 5 different job offers. I went to 5 different interviews and got 5 job offers. And this was a while back, and the economy wasn't so well. And I just kind of like said, oh, I got lucky. Long story short, obviously, I was doing something really good in the interview settings. I was doing something really good when I was writing my resume. Eventually, I reflected on all that and said, hey, I'm doing some good stuff here. I think the public needs to know. And that's how, long story short, career coaching came into my life.
Wow. What were you applying for? What was the role that you really wanted back then?
Yeah. So I had gone to a business college. It's a small school in Westchester County here in New York. And it's no bigger than a block. It's a building maybe like 5 stories tall, 6 stories tall. But it's all business courses, right? And so I just wanted to get into business. I knew that everything is business. I used to have a dance studio. Here, it's a podcast studio, but in this house, there was a dance studio. But I knew that if I ever wanted to do dancing as a way to make money, that would be business. That's a business, right? Everything is business at the end of the day. And so I said, why not take a business degree? Because at the end of the day, it's going to open the most doors.
So you've always had entrepreneurial skills.
Very
growing
true.
Up,
yes.
Right, dance studio. Was there other times when you were growing up that you were trying to make
Oh my God.
money?
I can tell you, like, so in high school, I did graffiti on people's backpacks, and I used to sell that for like $25 a backpack. I even learned how to do airbrushing, and I airbrushed some walls on basements and for friends. We did bootleg DVDs. We had a connection that got us high quality movies before they came out of the theater. So we would do bootleg DVDs, print the cases, and sell these bootleg movies. So Hollywood done come after me. This was a long time ago. And always kind of scheming up to make a buck, because it came from me. I think it comes from my mom's side. Oh. She's just very entrepreneurial, very business oriented. So I got that side of her. And deliver newspapers. I was like 6 or 7 years old delivering newspapers here when back in the day that was a thing, and people didn't fear that their kids would get kidnapped. So yeah, I've been doing a lot, and cleaned homes with my mom too. Wow. So yeah, since I was a kid, definitely learned to work hard and learned the value of money for sure.
So you were really good at getting your ex's jobs. When did you realize you wanted to monetize it, make it into a business? What was that like point for
Yeah.
you?
So that's an interesting story. So I actually went to an interview and I realized the lady had completely misread my resume. And so here I am, I'm interviewing for a job to do statistics. I'm a business guy, business process guy. Numbers aren't the highest on my list of things that I do very well. But so I was able to charm her and still got the job doing statistical analysis for like a financial company. And that job was interesting because 3 months out of the year, I'm pulling my hair out doing a bunch of reports. The remainder of the year, there's no work. And so that allowed me to reflect on all the experiences, the advice, all the people that had helped just out of heart and love. And on reflecting on that, I actually got to realize that I have these gifts. And the gift is to do really well in interviews, to write really great resumes, and to strategically think about my career moves. And sometimes I do strategically experimental things with my career as well to see what happens. So sometimes I shoot myself in the foot, but I always use that experience to help my clients navigate their careers. And I've worked for over 10 companies now here in Fairfield County. And it's been a long, beautiful career. And can't wait for what happens next. Yeah.
Can you break down kind of your advice that you give to someone who's just like, I guess, graduate college and wants to get a job? What are like the first steps you would guide them to do?
Yeah, I think you probably know this best now, but networking, it's really about the connections you build. But let's say you don't network, right? Here's one really amazing way to create opportunities for yourself. Set yourself up with a temporary agency and become the best temp employee. I mean, if they send you an assignment to stuff envelopes somewhere for like 2 weeks straight, do that and be the best envelope stuffer. Show up, look good, look presentable, and build a reputation of high quality work. That recruiter, that manager of yours in these temp assignments, they're actually going to send you on more qualified, higher opportunity assignments just because of the quality of work and the reviews that you got before on the tiny little assignments. That to me, in my career, I built up a really great relationship with a great recruiter. And when it came time to like some really good opportunities, she was there for me. And I give her credit for like, I would say making my career. Yeah. And she sent me to, when I was a little rinky-dink, snot-nosed college kid, she sent me to one of the largest hedge funds in the world for a few weeks. And I was doing minimal work, but just the fact that I was able to have that on my resume was such a big deal. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, and that expanded my brain too, because that hedge fund was another world.
What about the people who aren't even able to get these like internships and like how do you stay motivated?
Yeah. You gotta be let's see here. You really, really have to be hungry. You have to put yourself out there. You have to put yourself in a space where you may get rejected. You have to raise your hand and feel like perhaps you might not be chosen if you raise your hand. It's all about putting yourself out there, because if you don't, like, no one's going to take notice. And nowadays, if a job opens, there's going to be thousands of resumes that get posted to this job. So you have to also be on your game as well, to like in every day, look at these opportunities that come up and submit it. And don't be afraid if you don't have the skills. A really great written resume might get you noticed, and you might get put into the stack to read further. And if so, you might be able to create an opportunity for yourself. So don't be afraid to submit your resume, even if you don't have the greatest qualifications.
Yeah, let's dive into resume. What kind of tips would you give someone with a resume? Like, do you have things when you're looking at a resume that you look for, or things that you recommend people do? How important is a resume? I remember I was like, do I put my GPA on? Like, what is very valuable on a resume?
Yeah, so I would say if you don't need money right away, experiment with your resume. Like if you're at home and your parents are like not pushing you to pay rent, if you don't have rent, if you have some time, experiment with your resume. Think about little pop, a little pizzazz. Think of it like if you're going fishing, right? If you're going fishing, if you have the biggest worm or the most flashiest worm, you know, that worm's going to probably attract the big fish very, very quickly, or a fish in general very, very quickly. So don't be afraid to experiment with your resume. Type up dynamic resume or creative resume on Google and see all the images that pop up, and think outside the box. So look at that, get inspired, and think of how you can make a resume that stands out while also looking professional. The second thing I want you to recognize is that put together that cover letter. A lot of candidates aren't doing the cover letter. Put together a reference sheet, and all this should be branded. Make it look stylistic. Remember, if consider yourself almost like a company, You Inc., ULLC, U.Corp, right? And so if you want to get noticed, brand yourself, you know, and create these beautiful pieces of paper that represent you the best way in the world. And if you're able to do that, you're going to create opportunities for yourself.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. What tips would you give someone? So you got the interview.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have routines that you think that someone should do before they actually just like go to the interview? Like, what do you practice with them? Like, I remember you talking about like facial, your like how you present yourself, your face really matters. Like, what are kind of ways to boost someone's confidence?
Got it. Okay, so if you got the interview, okay, so let's talk about digital interviews, right? Interviews on Zoom, Teams, Skype, whatever you're using. Very, very important to set up your space. So you're not only going to be dressed really well, dress up your background as well. Because remember, these people are going to be judging you. They're paid to judge you. They have to have great judgment. And so if you have your messy bed on the background, it's going to not be a good look. I would say don't even show your bed in the background, because people start to think, they might think naughty stuff, you know, like what the magic happens in bed, right? And so you want to showcase a space that's coutoured, right? Maybe a plant in the back, maybe a painting, a motivational saying, set up some books, put up a shelf, make it look great. And if you have the money, I want you to invest in a great microphone, a good sounding microphone, and a great camera. That's going to set you apart. Because if you look like a quality candidate, everyone else is going to be using their cell phone. They're going to be using the crappy camera on their laptop. And so if you look like a quality candidate, if you sound like a quality candidate, that's going to definitely be a differential when you get there. Last, there's so many tips when I get there, but the one tip that I do want you to know is it's a digital interview, right? And so it's very hard to establish that connection. So I want you to do two things. Look into the eye hole, right? So that it seems like you're looking at them in the eye. And then the second thing is to be you plus 5. So you 1.5. You got to be a little bit more animated. You got to emphasize your voice a little bit more. Your expressions, you want to express them a little bit further, because that's going to increase the connectivity that the interviewer is going to feel with you.
Yeah, that's awesome advice. So now the person got the job. How important is negotiating tips? How much over can we negotiate? Like, say they 60,000. Can we do 70? Like, what is the recommendation?
Got it. So this is it's tricky. It's for every industry, location, sector, part of the country. All these things are taken into consideration. Hey, ChatGPT is the best tool right now to say, hey, I'm looking to get hired in this industry. I have a job interview. I have a job offer. Like, I have this much experience, or I don't have any experience. What are some parameters that I could use in this industry? And there's a lot of data that ChatGPT is going to crunch for you. So you have that. The second tool is you can use websites like Glassdoor. Glassdoor is going to tell you the position. A lot of times there are going to be people there that have reviewed that position specifically, and they're going to tell you how much they were getting paid at the time, and it's all anonymous. So you're going to be able to engage how much you can ask and negotiate for. The one thing you could do, if let's say they said the position pays 50. But since you're so new or so entry level that they're giving you 45, make sure that you set up your expectations so that you say, hey, I would like to get paid 50. Can I get put on a probationary period? And if I hit the goals and targets, is there a possibility for you to put me up to 50 in 3 months? And then you can set that as the goal. Now you're incentivized. You're excited because you're in this position, and you're going to start rocking and rolling. You're going to be shooting for the goals, the performance goals that they're looking for. And there's a preemptive prize at the end that they're going to your salary or a bonus or anything like that. So yeah, these are all like little things and tips and tricks that I've done in my career.
Yeah, I love that. How do you find a job that fits for you? Like, what do you look for? Culture? Like, how can you sense that from an interview? Like, I'm going to interview, like, and I have these background, like, I want a good work environment. What questions can I ask when I'm being interviewed?
Yeah,
to get a sense of that.
Glassdoor.com once again can give you a little hint into the culture or the lack of culture. Can get a great sense from the employees, right? Engage the employees in like questions that are like, what's your workday like? That's a good one. Or like, what do you like best working for this company? Like, what's one thing that makes this company stand out for you? Those are great questions that are going to give you insight into the company culture. I can tell you right now that some people could be very, very miserable. And if you can read that, that doesn't mean you don't take the job. I think you should take the job and just very quickly look for a new one. You know, one of the things is you want to keep the money rolling in for your retirement, for whatever your financial goals are, keep the money rolling in. But just because you took a job doesn't have to mean you're loyal to them. That's one thing I think we all as human beings make a mistake. Yeah, they gave you the opportunity, but trust me, most jobs will fire you the minute the budget doesn't work. We all become numbers on a spreadsheet. Some companies are better, some companies have more heart. But just because you took a job offer doesn't mean that you have to be loyal to that company. They have to earn your loyalty too.
Yeah, you said you like switched many jobs throughout your life. What was that breaking point for you when you're like, oh, I want to look for it? Were you already in a job just wanting to get higher paid, or was it like, I really don't like what I'm doing, I'm looking for a job? Like, has there been a pattern of when you've been switching jobs?
Yeah, totally. So there's been many reasons why I switched jobs. Switching jobs every 2 years is a little bit more recommended if you want to increase your salary. Think of yourself like a stock, right? A stock has more value in the market. And so what you want is, if you consider yourself like a stock, then you want to find a buyer that's willing to pay more for your experience, willing to pay more for your skill sets, your talents. And so as you build more skill sets, more history, you can find a better buyer, right? So, and a lot of times, unfortunately, this happens to all of us, right? Who are your worst critics? Usually it's your parents. No matter, you could be making $1 million, they'll still remember you as that kid that they wiped the butt because you were in diapers, right? And so your employers are also the same. They saw you screw up. They saw you make mistakes. And so sometimes it's very hard for them to frame you outside of that character where you were learning how to move forward. And so it might take a brand new team, a brand new company to view you from the new perspective, the new version of you. Yeah. So that's been one of the many reasons I left companies. But company culture is very big for me. And I've been very lucky to find myself in incredible companies that have a lot of heart. They love to have fun. They have work hard, play hard mentality. And so this last company I'm going to complete my 11th year anniversary next month, on May 5th.
You did do the 2 year, like switching every 2 years for this job.
For this one, no, I didn't. Yeah. It's been a great company to ride up. We started with like 7 people. We're now at 24. So.
That's amazing.
And bought out by private equity, and it's been a fun ride up. We'll see where it goes.
I'm sure it feels great when you have a job to get another job. Like, I feel like you feel more confident. Like, oh, I can negotiate. Like, I know my worth. And you have a job.
Better.
I'm fine, but I'll just like look for another one.
Yes. In fact, I tell, this is when like career coaching, you have to give hard advice, but it's great advice. If you find yourself unemployed, if they gave you great severance, if you were employed, if you got laid off, let's say, maybe you do have some runway, right? They may have given you a lot, maybe you have some savings, right? But like dipping into savings, I don't advise. So I would say get another employer, keep the cash running in, and then look for the next job. Yeah. So always keep that cash rolling in, and then don't be loyal to that next opportunity. Now, if you're unemployed and you're looking to get your first employment opportunity, that's different. But definitely the reason why I say get employed, even let's say if you're not employed, but you get a job at ShopRite, again, you have money coming in And if it's paying the bills, then it gives you that confidence boost. It gives you that ability to be a little bit more cocky in that interview seat. And that cockiness, that assertiveness, that confidence, it's going to speak volumes versus other candidates that are like nervous, they're like scared, because like this is going to mean if they get this job, they're able to pay rent or make that car payment. Yeah.
Absolutely true. Wow, I love that. Can you give me us more advice on, okay, so let's say like the job market is really bad right now. When the job market is good, do you have different advice that you give based on how the jobs are going? Like,
well, yeah, you can ask for greater salaries, right? Yeah. So if the market's competitive, if there's, let's say after COVID, there were no jobs anymore. No, there were jobs, there were just people not to fill them, right? Like people scaled their salaries hardcore. Like people were hiring people for 20% higher than the market at the time, right? The market has changed now, but yeah, in fact, if you graduate into a stronger economy, you will outpace the people that graduated into a bad economy. So let's say you graduated into a tough economy and your base salary will start at, let's say, I'm just throwing numbers out now, right? Let's say your base salary starts at 55, right? So now you're negotiating up from 55, right? But let's say you graduated into a really good economy. It's competitive. There's not a lot of employees around. So now they're paying more. So now you are getting paid 65, 68, 70,000, right? Now your negotiating power is from 70,000. That's your baseline. So you're able to really use that as leverage to really increase your income considerably. And you're speaking to someone who's graduated into a very tough economy. So I've had to work my way up from the lower numbers. Yeah.
Wow. We're both in like speaker school, like speak a lot, communicate. What skill sets do you think someone who's interviewing, how important is communication?
Oh my God. It's everything.
Yeah.
It's everything. Yeah. So when you're on interviews, the key thing is brevity. You overtalk. Overtalk is the number one thing that won't get you the job. It's really 30-second sound bites, 30-second answers. Yeah. Think of it like this, right? When Coca-Cola, it's the Super Bowl. They have a 30-second time slot, right? Some of these commercials, they make you laugh and cry and all in 30 seconds, right? In 30 seconds, the little polar bear has come out. Then you feel, nurtured. Then he slides down the mountain and runs into a little kid. And you're like, oh, what happened to the little polar bear? And then after that, like the little mama bear shows up and then you get emotional because it's the whole family together. In 30 seconds, Coca-Cola has made you feel a plethora of emotions, right? It's the same thing in interviewing. 30-second time slot answers. In fact, that's what I coach my clients to. Like an answer cannot go longer than 45 seconds. The only answer that I allow them to go longer than that and only up to a minute is the tell me about yourself, because it's usually the first question and they're not yet tired of you yet.
Interesting. Yeah, I do think that's what we learn about a lot in like speaker school, about conciseness, not dragging sentences on forever and ever. And I feel like when you're being interviewed, at least when I remember, it's like you feel that rush of nervousness and you just feel like talking all the time because you're just trying to get words out, as many words as possible.
Yeah.
Because like at one point I'm going to convince them to hire me.
And
the more I talk.
And the more you talk, the more they're like, yeah, we don't know. So one of the markers of intelligence is synthesis, is how well you can communicate an idea with as little words as possible, right? So there's like competitions for 1-word stories. I don't know if you heard that, or 3-word stories. So so much can be said in so little. So a marker of intelligence, of logic, of reasoning is how you can synthesize a thought correctly. And you can see the people that can synthesize complex things into things that are understandable, those are really intelligent people. And so if you're able to communicate like that in an interview setting, they're going to know you have smarts behind you.
How do you work on that? Is that just by practicing the questions over and over again? Or is there another way of?
Yeah, so I practice the STAR method, which stands for situation, target, action, results. And then I've added what I call the Giovanni component to it. which is about emotional storytelling. I call these things algorithms to really speak and live by, because this methodology will actually help you communicate with friends, with families, with girlfriends. If you're having an argument with your wife, use the STAR method. You'll be able to communicate how you screwed up or how you're saying sorry. And then I have another methodology that I call the list builder. It's actually my own creation, which is about how to answer general open-ended questions, which can be scary. There's two types of questions in interviews. One is called behavioral. The other call is more like traditional general, which are open-ended. Some behavioral questions require an example from your past. So you have to remember something and tell a little bit of a story. General traditional questions are open-ended. Like, what are your strengths, right? That's a general question, which is open-ended. And what happens? Because it's open-ended, you tend to overtalk. And so I use I train my clients on what I like to call the list builder pattern, which helps them condense things and makes them answer the questions in as conciseness as possible, with as much meat to the bone as possible as well. Yeah.
Can you break down the STAR method for people who don't know?
It's actually very easy. Mm-hmm. So you answer a question that usually requires an example from your past, right? So it literally is what it says. You state the situation. What were the circumstances you found yourself in? Okay. Usually it's a problem. Then what's your target? So how are you going to resolve that situation? That's your target, right? The end goal. Then you have your A, your actions. What are the actions that you took in order to complete that target? And then you have your R, which is what are the results and the conclusion after the situation, the target you established, and the actions you took. What were the results out of all those things? And that's like where you were before, where you are now, where you are after. So you got to really nail down the results, right? And I'm going to withhold the Giovanni component for another session.
Yeah, of course. Do you have role models that you like when you were learning all of this? Who were the people you learned from?
Yeah, very interesting question. The reality is that I didn't learn this from anyone. And so what I did do is, in that job that I told you I had sold myself into, that it definitely was not qualified to do the job. Those 9 months that were kind of like I was just sitting in that chair, I took time to reflect, and I read a lot of like interview teaching books, resume building books. And what I realized is I was doing every single thing by the book and going beyond the book. And that was the epiphany moment for me to say, wow, like I'm actually like these experts here, like Monster.com, this HR professional of hiring that wrote these incredible books. I'm like, this is what I've been doing naturally all my life. This is how I've been able to create like really cool opportunities for myself. And I said, wow, I put on the hat. I'm a career coach.
I love it that you took a step. You were like, I could write these books.
Yeah.
I could just write these.
Yeah. Like, I'm like, wow, everything that they recommend, I'm doing, and I'm doing my own version of it. And I think, obviously, I would say my version is better. Obviously, you'd have to take the coaching, but that's sort of how I view the world. Yeah.
What's the future of your coaching? Do you want to do events, books? Like where do you want this to lead you to?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's so much that I would like to do. Give me 1 second here. I'm just going to fix something here. Yeah. So there's one thing that I would love to do is I really want to make 2025 the year that I get into more of group settings. Like I would love to go into colleges, universities, nonprofits. I want to impact as many people with these tools as possible, because we live in a very fast changing world. And what I'm realizing on top of that is that the pandemic also like declined or deprived many of these students the ability to gain those social skills that are so clutch for interview settings. Like it's so important to have those social skills. And so we need to expand minds, right? We need to expand society in that way. And if I can get these tools out there to more students, more people, my hope is that they go on and become much more successful. Yeah.
So is that kind of the pattern you've been seeing with people when they come to you for struggling? It's the social skills? Is that the big thing that they're working with?
It's so big now. Like I don't remember ever being like that ever. Granted, I was I've always been a little bit of a little bit different, I would say. But I think now I really have put myself in situations where I've been observing the individuals more, especially in group settings, and I do see more social awkwardness, and the ability to interact socially has declined, and that's a skill set that's going to take you very, very far.
Yeah. I mean, when I started networking, I feel like that's brought me so much confidence. But I remember the time when I was so terrified to even network. So it's definitely a time that people need this because as you said very beginning, like the network is very important to get you really far. How do you even do that without socializing?
Exactly.
Going to these events without having this little like, oh my God, what are they going to ask me?
Yeah.
And then when you don't have a job, it's even more pressure.
Yeah.
So I understand. Like, but it's also something I realized once you put yourself out there, it just gets easier. Like you're just constantly just saying the same thing over and over again. You get your rounds in. And at one point you're like, oh, I think I'm getting the message across really well.
Yeah.
Like I feel like in interviews, if you network and you just give the people your elevator pitch, you'll see what kind of works and what doesn't.
It's so true. Yeah, so true. And that's one of the things that happens in my interview coaching is that I put you in the hot seat. And then, usually by the third week, like I have a scoring system from 1 to 10. And by the third week, 7 is the baseline for me to be a great interview answer. And by the third week, I'm hitting 7s with this person all the time, some 9s, some 8s, some 10s. And that practice, getting in the hot seat before you're in the hot seat, it's so important. And then what I recommend is right after, especially an entry level, is like, hey, go interview for a job that you're not gonna you don't even want the job offer. Like go interview at Target, like, and be in the hot seat, and you're going to be confident because you're just there to get your practice in. Like, I'm sorry, Target manager, for wasting your time, but I want to be in the hot seat to be ready for that opportunity in the corporate world or in the engineering world, wherever you're applying to that you really want to get into. You want to do your layups before you get there.
Yeah, I'm sure working with you gives people so much confidence. Like, I can't imagine getting rated a 7 right before. It's like when you practice for a driving test and like you're like getting your parking right perfectly every time. You're like, tomorrow I'm going to crush this driving
exactly
test. And then with you, you're like, you're getting 7s over and over. You probably like walk into that interview and be like, I'm going to crush this because I've been doing so well.
Yeah.
Versus doing it by yourself.
Oh, so true. In fact, like whenever so I've been an interview coach, career coach for over 12 years now. Whenever I've switched a job, I call a friend, I ask a family member, hey, here's all these questions, ask me them. Why? Because I live and breathe my world. Like, I'm going to do my layups before I play the big game, So, and then like I practice my questions, like, so, and it also refreshes my memory to all the memories of like the big achievements, the things that I've done for other companies. So that kind of like a computer, right? You have your long-term storage, which is your hard drive, and then you have your RAM, which puts all the programs that are running. You take all your memories, you put them up into RAM. The next day, you're going to be sharp. You're going to be telling everything that you wanted to speak about, and you're going to be really selling yourself. So even myself, I do, before a job interview, I haven't had one for over 11 years now, but before I go, I do an interview practice session, and I practice all my interview questions right before.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned this one time when we were talking that when you're feeling discouraged, you have them write all their successes down.
That's so
and I
true.
absolutely love that. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, so that's actually a big component of my coaching practice, which is like part of the discovery is me bringing out the excellence inside of you that you've forgotten. And we don't give ourselves enough credit. And so that component really is my favorite thing to do, because I'm going to make you glow up to yourself. You're going to look in the mirror and you're going to see a different person once you're done having some sessions with me. You're going to remember that toxic company that fired you didn't appreciate when you stayed late. They didn't appreciate when you saved the company 20%. They didn't appreciate when you brought the large big client that created like the most profitable quarter, and then they laid you off. You're going to remember all those beautiful moments. One time, I think in January, actually, my sister who works in retail met this lady, told her I was a career coach. This random lady called me. I said, hey, I'm not taking clients on right now, but let's do one quick thing with you. And then I met her random lady. I even forgot the name because I just spoke to her only one time. And we talked about her experience and we went into it and just talked, parlayed. I reminded her of her beautiful things that she has done for other companies. The next day she texted me, said, Gio, thank you so much. You made me remember how good I am. And this last company did not appreciate me. And I've been feeling like crap. But after your talk yesterday, I feel so empowered. And I felt bad because I couldn't take her on as a client. I also wanted to make some more money too, right? But that's the power of really extracting the excellence out of people. I've only had one client that tested me with not having any excellence at all. So my talk with that person was very, very hard. I said, you're not doing enough. You are not working hard enough. You are not creating opportunities because there's nothing I can really highlight for you. So you have to go and you have to volunteer. You have to go into organizations. You have to go out and create a space for you to have highlight moments because obviously you can't sell yourself if you have nothing to sell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so true. I'm sure, well, for the people who have successes, I'm sure that makes them feel
and all of it to us. One client in 12 years really tested me, and that was a hard conversation. You know, it was a young kid, so obviously not a lot to work on, but still, even as a young kid, you should have like successes in sports when you're in middle school or anything of the sort. When there's nothing there, then you have to shift the perspective in your life. You have to figure out like that you're not doing enough.
Are you taking clients right now?
I actually am.
Okay.
Believe it or not, I'm very spiritual, and I was not taking clients on to finish writing my book, but God told me to take on clients. And that very same weekend that he told me, I put it out to the universe. And just that weekend alone, the first weekend, I made like $3,000 that weekend. Yeah. So God said, I think the reason being is that I was struggling so my scoring system is in here, and I was struggling to put it on paper in my book. And these last few clients I took on actually clarified that for me. So now I know how to verbalize my scoring system, not just carry it up here, which is a very important component to my book. Yeah.
For people who are more in the entrepreneurship coaching, what advice do you have for people trying to get clients? Like, how do you get these clients?
Yeah, a lot of my, because my career coaching practice has been a passion project, it's all been word of mouth. Okay. So I do have a website, so I don't really put it out there. It's all been like, hey, Gio helped me. He can help you. Hey, Gio got me a better job. Here's what he can do for you. Hey, Gio helped me negotiate a better salary. Here's what we can do for you. And so I have a pretty demanding career, so I don't take on a lot of clients. However, I think what I just said is really the key component, is provide so much value that people are going to vouch for you. Provide so much value that the referrals just come naturally. Make sure that you have an excellent product, an excellent service, or I would say there's like 3 components. I'm going to probably mess this up, but you can provide the best service and the best product, but not at the cheapest price, right? You can provide the cheapest price and the best product, but not the best service, right? So don't try to be all things. These 3 things, you have to at least excel in 2. But if you're going to excel in one of them, is providing a great service, will definitely get you more customers.
How do you balance everything? So you have a demanding job, then you have clients. How are you able to do this? Like, what are your secrets?
Oh my God.
And you also want to do Etsy shop. Like, I swear, every time we talk, you're like, I have a new business idea. How does anyone have the time for it? Like, are you just like very much like a go? Is that how you have always stayed like I guess stable? Like, some people just love to work because it really keeps their mind sharp.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you do this?
Yeah, so I've taken the position that everything in life is fun. All right. And everything in life takes work. If I want to have a great relationship with you, Pratt, it's going to take work. I have to call you. I have to text you. I have to say, hey, how you doing? I have to, make a coffee date, right? To have a great relationship with you takes work. So am I going to view that as being hard? Am I going to view that as being difficult? Am I going to view that as being stressful? Or am I going to view that as having fun? It's having fun. I'm here in this podcast. We're having fun. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of work to set up and make sure everything, because it's the first full episode, right? It was work. It was hard, but it was fun, right? And so everything that I do in life really is fun. And so I enjoy the challenges. I enjoy the experiences. I enjoy that every time you take on a new project, you find a new skill set. I know how to design websites. I do photography. I've done this. I've done that. It's all fun for me. And so I think if you really take life and view it from a very playful nature, everything, including the challenges, just becomes fun. You're going to have some moments where you're tired, where you don't want to do X, where you don't want to do Z. I have burnt myself out in the past, but it's that playfulness. It's that the ability to view things as it's fun, it's playing, and everything is work at the end of the day, no matter what it is, that I really think is able to keep me going. And I'm not the best planner. I'm not the best person to schedule everything in, but I do get a lot of stuff done because at the end of the day, it's all play to me, you know?
I love that.
Work is play and play is work, you know?
How do you know when to stop doing something and move on?
Rough one. Yeah. I've definitely done things a lot longer, some things a lot longer, and lost some money because of that. Very good question. I'm going to say my biggest lesson is when it no longer speaks to you. Okay. Things in life need to get you excited. If it gets you excited, you should be doing it. And then if it doesn't get you excited one day, look back. Are you burnt out? Or if it no longer truly speaks to you, then make sure that you walk away. Yeah. But if you're burnt out, it means, hey, just take a chill pill, relax, recharge. You probably still love what you want to do. Just, you probably work too hard or work yourself to the bone, right? But really when it doesn't speak to you. I'm a big believer of doing things that flutter your heart. Okay. And that doesn't mean you can have a career in a job you don't necessarily love. In fact, there has been a study that people enjoy their careers more the longer they've been doing it. Why? Because they know it like the back of their hand, right? So sometimes you may get into a career that you don't truly like, but if you stay there long enough, you're going to end up liking it because you're going to be the office oracle. Everyone's going to come to you for the answers. It's going to be easy to you because you know all the most complex, difficult challenges. You know how to overcome them. And you're going to be giving everybody really great advice, you know? And so a career you don't necessarily like, you might actually like later on. However, if you don't like your career, but you're making really good money, find a way to flutter your heart outside of your career, whether it be volunteering, whether it be starting a side hustle, whether it be starting a coaching practice, right? Whether it be starting a photography hobby that maybe starts as a little bit of a side cash, opportunity. I think the reality is that you can flutter your heart in outside of work. And so that'll give you some fuel to work in that career that you make really good money, but probably doesn't really give you that impact that you love in the world.
Yeah, I love that. With so many ideas that you have, how do you choose which one to go for?
Good question. Nowadays, for me, is a collaboration. Yeah. So for me, I've done so many projects like on my own that I'm really ready to build a team. Yeah. At the end of the day, in 2025, I would love to grow a company that I hire some employees, and my sole objective is to make them rich. I want my employees to get rich off of the insights and ideas that I bring to the table and that they bring to the table, right? That's a big dream of mine. I was disclosing to you that I want to start a business in clothing earlier, right? I want to do that as a group with like almost equal equity shares with a bunch of people, and then we can get together and get all our creative juices flowing. How we're going to market it, what's the quality going to be, and get all that engagement as individuals. And I think collaboration for me right now are the projects that are really going to get me excited. Yeah.
You know, it's so funny. Like, you're such a friend of everyone. Like, you have such a great skill to be everyone's friend. And I know we talked about this a lot because everyone knows that about you. Like, you bring people together. Has that always been something that you have?
Yeah.
Or did you realize that it was a skill? Because maybe you had it when you were little, but you probably thought everyone was like this. Or when did you realize that you were kind of like the connector?
I don't know when it happened because I was a little bit shy growing up. But in elementary school, like, this is funny. We grew up in a pretty tough area of town. It wasn't like Connecticut tough. It's not like New York tough, right? But it was a tough area of town, and yeah, I was like the little magnet kid. I got along with everyone. We even like had a gang, a little gang that we.
You were an elephant.
Yeah, it's hilarious. We were a little gang, and you know who we beat up? Each other. That was, and just following terrible examples that were out in the street, right? And that was hilarious. But later on in life, I realized honestly that bringing people together is where the magic is. It truly, really is. And I think as a society, we've forgotten that. And a lot of people that are struggling, that don't feel connection, they don't know that they can be the one. So I had a party 3 years ago now, and I invited a bunch of people. And one person the next day said to me, you know, Gio, I wasn't feeling your parties are really so good, but I wasn't feeling this party. Like the people were talking about things, about work, you know, like they weren't enjoying themselves in the way that we usually do. So it's like, I wonder why everybody was talking business. And I said to this person, okay, so if you didn't like the way the party was going, why couldn't it be you to be the spark, right? And a light bulb went in his head. And it's like, why? Like, why couldn't it? You're right. Why wasn't it me? If the party was a little bit dull or a little bit boring, you're right. Why couldn't it have been me to get things going and be the one that gets the party energetic, right? By the way, I thought the party was fun. And I think a lot of people had fun, but he wanted to have a different sort of fun. And so to me, it was like, okay, so if that's the fun that you wanted, if that's the way you wanted the party to go down, then why not be the spark to create that environment, right? And he had an epiphany moment, and in the next party, he was like definitely the spark, and he's been a super sparker ever since. So yeah, so I think people forget that they have the ability to be the one. You know, they can be the match that lights all the other matches in the matchbox.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, it really adds to your whole like friend, like you're such a friend, and I feel like now I love that you were like this since your childhood. That's so adorable. When did you get into like speaking? I'm so curious. Speaking, and then you did career coaching. Was speaking after career coaching before?
Speaking is interesting for me because I was people just.
Did everyone just think you were a speaker? So they were like,
yeah,
go on stage and
it's
speak.
weird. It's really, really weird. Like, I think it's just people, I became a speaker because other people chose me to speak. And so what that means is that, I'll tell you like a couple of strange examples. I went to my friend was hosting a fundraiser for the Haitian community. This was years ago, like almost 10 years ago. And I get there and she's like, Gio, I want you to be my co-host. I'm like, I don't know Creole. I'm just here. I'm here to donate. I'm here to have a good time. And here I am. I'm co-hosting a Haitian, nonprofit school building organization. And I'm giving away the prizes. One example. One other example is I get to my friend's dad's funeral, right? And my friend is from Nigeria. And I'm thinking, oh my God, it's going to be a somber situation. It's going to be sad. No, Nigerians have a life celebration. They're partying, they're dancing. And who do they choose to be the host? Like me. Now I'm the host. I don't know anyone in the room. Now I'm the host of a Nigerian life celebration. And so I became a speaker because other people chose me to speak. And that's been kind of fun and very adventurous in the making. Yeah,
so you were chosen, then you decided to go dive into it and like speak.
Yeah. So I've been like, I'd say I've been a motivational, like instructional speaking since 20.
A long time.
Yeah, a long time.
Years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm trying to go even deeper now. So
yeah, because you're trying to go to schools now to do your coaching.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it all like kind of comes together. That's like the beauty of everything. Like
it
your
is
coaching, your speaking, all the gigs you do. You also have a podcast that you do.
That's
so
very
do
true.
You want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so the I have a podcast on a network called SOS Radio, SOS standing for the Science of Survival. And I'm on my 6th or 7th episode. And it's called the Breakthrough Lab. Mm-hmm. And so the idea is, I'll take a step back. I have had some of my greatest lessons without hitting my head on the wall. And I was lucky to find a radio station called NPR, National Public Radio. And they have some podcasty, like storytelling shows. And some of my greatest epiphanies came from hearing these beautiful stories. And I take those life lessons and I put them into my career practice and life. And so the Breakthrough Lab, which is the name of the podcast, is the idea is to interview people and figure out a couple like really great pieces of insights, advice, actionable items that people can take, and they can take action on them right there. If you're going through something, maybe it's that thing you needed to hear. If you're not going through anything, maybe it's that thing that gave you the inspiration, or it's that thing that you're going to put away as a tool in the future. When the situation arises, you're going to remember, oh yes, there's this insight I learned on the Breakthrough Lab. This is how I apply this particular bit of advice. And the idea is hopefully to get you out of a jam, or get you out of a funk, or get you to create a new opportunity.
I love that. I love that. Look at how many things you do. It always blows my mind. That's incredible. I love everything you do. I love how everything's so connected. Do you have any last words that you would love to give to the Unchill podcast?
Yeah. I would say I'll give you my biggest regret so you don't make it. I had a dance crew. I was a member of a dance team. In fact, I was the leader of the dance crew. The name of the crew with breakdancing here in the East Coast was Cypher Design Crew. And that's where I learned my confidence, and that's where I learned how I wasted opportunities. So my confidence came from being a b-boy, which is when you go into that circle and you're rocking out and you're dancing your own style, your own creativity, you can get into your own headspace, and you could become negative and you can become positive, or you can live in that confidence and positivity, right? And so b-boying, breakdancing taught me that you have to be confident enough to go into the circle, right? And so one of my biggest regrets is not throwing myself into enough circles to really explore my talent and really showcase my breakdancing talent to the world. I did it enough to remember now, and now I throw myself into all kinds of circles, as you can tell. So my biggest regret is not getting into the circle early enough. So now I make sure I play and dance in the circles.
I have to ask, are we going to see you in any like break dancing competitions? I have to ask.
I will only break dance if you buy me 2 Long Island nuts. No, it's been a while, but you may see me house dancing sometimes with under some EDM music. So
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank
for this.
you.
This is absolutely amazing.
Thank you, Pratt. I appreciate you and your new endeavor, your beautiful renewed energy. You're a gorgeous soul. I love you to the end of earth, and you're making it happen. And just like as a break dancer, you're dancing in the circles and you're showcasing your talents. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This was excellent. Everyone, I hope you guys all crush your interviews with all the advice that we got from Gio.
Please feel free to reach out at The World of Gio is my handle on Instagram. That's where I play and work and post pictures of all the adventures. Or you can visit me at GiovannyRamirez.com, Giovanni with a Y, Giovanny. Ramirez.com. It's my website, and you can check me out. There's a lot of testimonials there on all the beautiful people I've been able to help in the past.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care, guys. And stay unchilled.
Exactly.
Take care. Bye-bye. Cool.